Everyone, it's Nikki. So, I wanted to talk today about being yourself and about not making yourself smaller in order to fit into other people's expectations or other people's spaces. So, the example I like to give of this is years ago, I was dating an ex boyfriend. We lived about an hour away from each other, and we both still lived with our parents at the time. So we used to alternate staying at each other's parents' houses every other weekend. Now, when it was my weekend that I was staying at his family's house with him, I had a choice when I was packing. Do I take my smaller duffel bag or my larger duffel bag? Now, looking at the amount of stuff that I was bringing, I really needed my larger duffel bag. That would give me space to spread everything out. And I was really bringing too much stuff to fit into the smaller duffel bag. But instead of taking the bag that would have made me feel more comfortable, the larger one, I would always squeeze my stuff really, really tight and try to get it into that smaller bag so I could take the smaller one with me. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to make myself look like I was a chill, low maintenance kind of person who like traveled light and wasn't going to take a big bag with me. Now, that's not me at all. Like, I am a high maintenance person. I would never take a teeny tiny little bag like that for an entire weekend, ever. And the thing is, I was doing this entirely because of how it looked to him and his family. There was no practical reason for this. We weren't getting on an airplane where there's a limit on how big your bags can be. We weren't getting on a train. We weren't taking a big road trip where the car's already full of stuff and, you want to try to squeeze into a smaller bag if you can. There was just no logical, practical reason for this. I was driving over there in my own car. There was plenty of room in the house. There was just no practical reason for this. It was 100% about looking low maintenance and chill to him and his family when that's not how I really am. I once told this story to a friend, and she saw this as being more symbolic than I even realized because she said that it reminded her of times that she tried to make herself less and squeezing herself into a smaller space to make other people more comfortable. And I hadn't really thought about that before. I hadn't thought about that, but after thinking it over, I realized that she was right. And here's another story that will illustrate how I was making myself smaller in that case. So, when I was a kid, there was this one Christmas that my parents got me my own suitcase. Now, I was really, really excited to have my own suitcase because it made me feel so grown up to have my own. Like, it was a suitcase on wheels, which were still kind of new back then, and I could take it on the plane with me. And it was really exciting because up until then, I never had my own suitcase. I pretty much just put my things into my parents' suitcase when we traveled. So I loved this suitcase. And in fact, I loved this suitcase so much that throughout my entire childhood and when I was a teenager and stuff, I took this suitcase with me to sleepover parties because I loved it so much that I didn't want to have to wait and only use it like once or twice a year when we were getting on an airplane or something or going somewhere. So I would actually take this suitcase and use it at sleepovers. Now, I did not need this at sleepovers. Like, when you looked inside the suitcase, it was mostly empty. I had like two outfits in there. It was, there wasn't really a logical reason for it, but I just really, really liked this suitcase and I always took it with me. And and the thing is that back then I didn't really have any sense of I should be doing what other people are doing. Like, I did not have a sense of like reading the room and saying, well, everyone else takes a duffel bag to a sleepover, so I should take a duffel bag. I loved my suitcase, so I was going to take my suitcase, and that was the end of it. And it never really occurred to me how that made me look to other people, that they might have been judging me and how I would look bringing a full suitcase to a sleepover where everybody else just had a backpack or a duffel bag. Um, and when I think about it now, comparing then to as an adult when I was with that ex-boyfriend of mine, um, taking a suitcase to a sleepover party when you're a kid is a way weirder thing to do than just taking a full-size duffel bag to spend a weekend with someone. Like, that's way weirder. So, that's the difference between then and now when I think about how I was just completely being myself and doing what I like to do and not really thinking about how are other people going to judge me back then versus now trying to squeeze myself into this tiny space where and in this case it actually was a problem for me. I wasn't taking everything that I wanted to take with me. I wasn't, I was having to really cram my stuff in. Like, it really was a problem for me trying to squeeze into the smaller bag. Whereas in the case of the suitcase, it's not that I actually even needed it. It was just that I wanted to take it. And that's the difference between then and now, and I aspire and I am trying and working on being the way that I was before when I took that suitcase with me to the sleepover parties. And if any of this is familiar to you, if you feel like you've suppressed yourself or you've like squeezed yourself into a smaller space to make others comfortable, I would encourage you to take the suitcase that you want to take, because I realize now this is not about a suitcase. This was about me. Like, do not squeeze yourself in, contort yourself into a weird shape, like, making yourself smaller to fit someone else's space, because I regret every time that I did that. I'm never doing that again. I am coming just as I am. All the baggage, as much as I'm taking with me, it's all coming with me. And the world is just going to have to make room.